Greetings, sentient beings. This broadcast is not intended for children. There may be strong language and adult themes.
Well, gosh golly, holy cow.
Well, so we were going to take Stool to Flamingoland, but he's probably asleep just because it's like 6 o'clock in the morning.
Well, he was, if it was his birthday, he was probably out partying all day and all night. So he's...
Well, no, it's just beginning his birthday. He hasn't gotten to the evening part of his birthday yet.
Oh, it's just starting now. I was confused.
So he hasn't had a chance to get drunk yet.
Well, come on, Stool. Let's get with it.
Let's see. Then in the side chat, I see Native Atheist and Ox.
Hi. How are you guys
doing? Hey, guys.
Hey, I got an idea. Let's go over to Math Pigs and see if he's got any kind of a stream going. Ox was there.
Ah. Yeah, I was in somebody else's stream at the time. I don't remember.
Oh, and then there was also this Looney Tunes Christian freak that was there and just wouldn't stop. You know, kept blessing everybody, and everybody's telling him we don't want to hear that. And
I'm actually surprised I haven't gotten more of those. There's only been like 2 or 3 times that I've had trolls come in here.
Yeah,
and certainly I just, I don't have that big of a following, so they just haven't noticed me yet.
Yeah, I always wonder what motivates them to go after one person versus another. I mean, because I'm out there on Twitter and saying some, well, I guess I could say nasty stuff, but I'm confrontive towards GCs, gender criticals and that sort of thing, and I don't get trolls.
Well, more than anything, they go after exposure. So, if they don't see a lot of people responding to your posts, or if they don't think you have enough followers, they'll just go after somebody that they figure is going to provide them with a bigger audience.
Yeah, I guess. I got 1,200 followers.
I never pay attention to the numbers. The only reason I pay any attention to the numbers on YouTube is because there's still a couple of extra features that you can't get until you've got 1,000 subscribers.
What are you up to?
I've been stuck at around 450 for over a year now. I think I'm up to like 470 now. But then again, all I've been doing is live chats. I haven't put out any edited videos for over a year. So, I just, all these people who have blown right past me just because they put a little bit of effort into their channels. It's just not fair. That's just not the way America's supposed to work. What happened to when you could, phone it in and just kind of do a half-ass effort?
Well, that kind of went away with the virus.
Yeah, oddly enough, the virus I did pretty good with.
Now everybody thinks they can stream.
And we have Mark Short with us.
Well, that's a new name to me. I don't know Mark Short. Hi, Mark. How are you?
Hey, Mark. No, I don't know who this is either.
I'm wearing my nightie, Mark. I'm almost naked. Aren't you glad you came?
Oh, yeah. Well, I have a kitty who thinks I have not been paying enough attention to him. So now he is pushing at the keyboard. So if weird things start to happen, it's Sammy-san's fault. He starts draping his arms over the keyboard and has been known to, like, hit the function keys or hit things on the 10 keypad.
See, this is why they invented pressure cookers.
No, pressure cooking the keyboard doesn't help.
Well, if you season it with cat, it will.
Nope. No, I don't eat friends.
I do. It's nice to know where your food comes from. Because I am an alien.
Yeah, I guess you're not quite noticing the brow horns here, huh?
What the heck?
Oh, hey, Doc. So yeah, I really don't have any topics tonight. I went with the Flamingo Day because there weren't any decent holidays for today either.
Well, we should make one up then.
Well, see, if this had been last night, if this had been starting Thursday morning, then I could have gone with American Pie Day. Because, 7/20 is the closest fractional equivalent to pi. And that only applies in America because everywhere else in the world, they write it as 22/7.
What? Huh?
In the US, we're the only ones who write the date by putting the month before the day.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. I didn't know that's what you were talking about.
Yep.
Those Europeans are also tricky. They use commas in a lot of places where we'll use a single period for a marker, and like money, they use a comma instead of a dot.
Yeah, that's just wrong.
Yeah. They need to be.
The comma is supposed to be, separating sets of 1,000.
Well, I just figure every time I see something like that, it's just Europeans showing how inadequate they are.
Yeah, the decimal place designates that's a fraction.
Yeah.
I mean, they're the ones who do all the metric shit. They should know that.
Well, yeah, and it's decimal. It's not language. It's not grammar. It's a decimal.
Yeah, and they tell us we don't know how to use their language.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and those pompous English people with their putting U's and everything. Couleur, behavior.
Yeah, and they don't even realize that that's not even English. The reason they get the superfluous letters was because a couple hundred years ago, the nobility thought that the English language was too much for the peasants, so they were trying to speak French. That's why you get all those weird spellings. They took them all from the French.
And all we took was French fries. Excuse me, chips. Another one. Names that use wrong.
Yeah, now you got me wanting fish and chips again. I still haven't found a place that can get decent ones around here.
It really is hard to find good fish and chips, isn't it?
There's a place in St. Paul that is a converted gas station called Max Fish and Chips. And they do them right. They do them very close to the authentic British fish and chips. Although I do maintain that one of the reasons you can't get the authentic fish and chips anymore is because all the newspapers have gone to soy-based ink. So if they're not soaking up the petroleum from the newspaper wrapper, that just it leaves something out of the traditional recipe.
I think grease doesn't care what it seeps into. It seeps into everything.
It's not what the grease seeps into, it's what leaches out into the grease that sticks to the food.
Oh, I see. Well, that may well be. I always noticed that newspaper had a funny taste to it.
Yeah. Of course, as it is now, even the British can't get their traditional fish and chips anymore either.
Oh, is that a problem there over there?
Well, because of the Brexit thing, they pissed off the Norwegians, so their fishing boats can't go up to where they would get the cod.
Oh. Well, that serves them right then. It's time they stop their little imperialist colonialization efforts around the world. There's still got a few out there they need to give up. Except I think those countries don't want to give it up.
Yeah, well, the British had tried to have their own space program for a while, but they decided it wasn't worth colonizing any place that didn't have indigenous people to exploit.
I'm hoping they find life on Mars and the life turns out to be tardigrades. Wouldn't that be like the coolest thing ever?
Well, we did drop, or actually the Israelis dropped tardigrades on the moon, so we'll have to wait until we can get up there to see if they survived.
They did. Why would they do that?
The Israeli space probe that crashed last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, just part of the experiments was to see if what things could survive, mostly in the moon's gravity. So it contained tardigrades and it contained some seeds. I think it was like cotton and wheat seeds.
Oh.
Because they were going to find out whether or not they could be germinated in the moon's gravity.
I don't see why not. We've germinated plants in space.
Actually, they've noticed there were some problems with that when they've tried to germinate plants on a space station. One of the big things is without gravity, the roots don't know which direction to go. So the roots don't know which direction to go down, and then when they start to germinate, the plants did not know which direction to come up to come out of the soil.
Well, they can solve that. They just have to genetically engineer the plants with a few of the proper genes from Australian people who they're used to being upside down, so they know how to deal with that.
Well, the problem was that since they couldn't determine any up or down in space, they tended to just like grow in coils around their original seed pod.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Let's breed the plants with Australians, and it should straighten itself right out. Don't you think? Come on, Purple, play with me.
Sorry, I'm just really tired tonight.
So it's going up into the 90s tomorrow. Super humid. Yeah, it's going to be.
Yeah. The humidity is what I'm afraid of. I can handle temperatures in the 90s if the humidity stays down, but we don't get that in Minnesota.
And I have to go to the doctor tomorrow, right at the peak of it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, when the humidity gets too heavy, it just gets oppressive just trying to breathe.
My friend at the local gas station is helping me out. She realized that every month I'm short on cash, and so starting with the 23rd of each month, she's letting me have a week's worth of a tab, so that if I need gas or something to get to the hospital, I don't have to worry about it. That I can.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, so you can at least be sure you'll get to your doctor's appointments.
Yeah, that's what small town America is all about, And she knows me. I've been going there for years. She just, well, here, just don't worry about it. We'll put it on a charge account.
Yeah. Yeah, I could not deal well with small town. Just everybody knows everybody's business, and for me that meant that I really couldn't be myself. I couldn't be out about anything. Where I was up in Michigan, I couldn't even risk dating. Not only would everybody find out about it, but there was too much of a chance it'd wind up being a cousin. I was literally related to half the county within 3 generations.
Well, always messing around with your cousin. You just shouldn't get married or have kids.
Yeah, well, my family line traced back to 3 of the 5 largest families in the county.
It's like if your kids, and so you have a stepsister, and she's really hot. Well, she's your stepsister.
Now, see, some of that I would wonder about, because some of the aunts and uncles were actually my dad's step siblings, so wasn't actually a blood relation to some of them.
Yeah, it depends on the nature of the step sister. Is it sharing a parent or just sharing a marriage?
Hey, Jen, just kind of low key tonight. I'm pretty tired. We don't really have a topic. If anybody wants to suggest anything, or if we've got any questions from the audience.
Ask us anything. You ever done one of those shows? Ask me anything?
Yeah, I did one of those for my 300 subscriber thing.
Okay, well, I'll do that for tonight. And if you want to join in, you can. Chat, ask me anything.
Oh, no, I'm fine with it too. If anybody's got anything they want to ask me, I would have done it again for a 500 subscriber, but at this rate, that could be another year.
Well, Dr. Phil is on. I could turn up the volume and we could listen to Dr. Phil.
Oh, no. I've never liked Dr. Phil.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Paper or plastic? Yeah, well, the
question.
Yeah, that's a question Ox asked in the side chat.
Well, it depends.
Well, you might as well go with plastic because the paper is going to be more trees chopped down. The plastic they're going to keep making regardless of whether we use it or not. See, people don't get that plastic is not really the problem. Plastic is just a side effect of the petroleum refining process. So if we stopped using plastic altogether, there just wind up being a lot of toxic sludge they'd have to dispose of because that's what the plastic is made out of.
This is true.
So the plastic situation is not going to get any better unless we significantly reduce the amount of petroleum products we use. Now, if we could get away from the gasoline and the diesel fuel, then the plastic problem would wind up reducing on its own, just because they wouldn't have the materials to make all the plastic from. And because there'd be less of the raw materials available, plastic would become less abundant and therefore a bit more expensive. And so companies would start finding other things to package stuff in that would be cheaper than plastic.
The other problem with plastic is they don't actually recycle it. Everybody has all these recycling programs, and
Yeah.
there isn't anybody who's actually recycling stuff. The only stuff that gets recycled is like milk bottle plastic.
Yep. Well, and even that, they can't actually recycle it. They can't take milk bottles and pop bottles and make them into more bottles. They can only downcycle them, that it gets to be a cheaper grade of plastic. So for the most part, all the bottles that get recycled just wind up getting made into things like, the plastic outdoor furniture and the plastic decking.
Well, that's not a bad use of structural 2x4s and things like that.
Well, not 2x4s, just the decking material. See, actually, it's not even a structural material because it deforms too easy. It can't support weight on its own.
Right, but you're building it as a interior wall of a residential home.
Nope.
That's not load bearing. That's not going to be any big of an issue. It's just going to be sitting there in space.
No, they can't use it in house construction.
By code or by reason?
Well, both. The code won't approve it for the same reason, that if you try to build a stud wall out of plastic, after it's standing on end for a couple of years, it's going to actually start to droop under its own weight, and it's going to bend, and the drywall will pop off. So about the only thing they really can use it for is the siding material, or they can use it for the surface material for the decks, but they still actually have to have a wooden frame under them to support the weight.
I wonder chemically how close vinyl and that type of plastic. What is the number? Isn't milk bottles number 1 or number 2?
I'd have to look again. Yeah, I think the pop bottles and milk bottles are number 2.
Let's see, I happen to have one right here. I can see it there. I just can't read it.
Yeah.
Number 2, HDPE, high density polyethylene. Did you know? Here, chat. This is for your knowledge and edification, that the little triangle with arrows system with numbers in it for plastic type and recycling was invented and promoted into international use by 2 women in Wisconsin.
No, I did not know where that started from.
Yep, it was just a woman who was a housewife in Sauk Prairie, Wisconsin, who was upset that this brand new landfill that town opened was getting filled too fast, and it was all this plastic shit. And she got inspired. They started recycling the number 2 plastic, and she just learned a whole bunch about plastics and recycling and what can and can't, and what can mix and what can't. And just figured out the system and pushed it, and it took.
Yeah, there's another point of using the plastic lumber inside the house. If you have a fire, it creates toxic smoke.
Well, so does everything else in your house: carpeting, drapes, um, um, furniture,
Well, at
cabinets,
different levels of it,
kitchens.
but yeah, the plastic stuff will really.
Well, they say that the smoke inhalation kills you because of all the plastics in your house.
Yep.
So one more isn't going to make it any worse. It's already horrible and deadly. I worked with that material. You ever buy it in a breadboard? Like a cutting board.
Yeah, I didn't know those were from the recycled plastic. I've worked with the plastic decking for, building outdoor stuff.
It's really a nice material to work with, to cut into nail or screw. Screws work much better than nails. But I've used it to build specialty battery boxes for cars. And not something that's necessarily an actual box, but something that needs to have the battery
Hmm.
terminals protected from the environment, from
Yeah.
contact. Like when you move a battery to the trunk or something like that.
Well, and that's the best thing about the plastic, of course, is just, if you need to be keeping the elements off of something, it's good for protecting stuff from the rain and snow.
Mm-hmm.
Lego is actually starting on a project to use the recycled bottles to start making some of the Lego elements. It's just a pilot project at this point because part of the problem again is that they need to make sure that they can get the stuff hard enough.
What do they use now? Polystyrene?
I'm not sure offhand. It's not polystyrene. That doesn't sound quite right, but
Polystyrene, it comes in lots of forms. We all know it as styrofoam, but it's also the same plastic that you build like model cars and stuff out of. It's just a different form of it. But Lego doesn't do that. Their stuff is much more durable than polystyrene.
no. Yeah, Lego's the ABS plastic.
Is it?
Yeah. Although actually, in a set of Lego, there are a number of different elements. I mean, the basic bricks are the ABS, but some of the other elements, some of them they do make to be more flexible. Some of them are softer plastics.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's more what it's likely to go for, is that, for some of the parts that are intended to be more flexible, they could use the recycled plastic on.
See, Lego should build a kit where they're using some of the softer plastics and build it into a do-it-yourself custom dildo or something like that. Creative shapes for dildos and things like that. It would be a good seller, I think.
Yeah, except cleaning out all the gaps. Hey, Jeff.
Well, you could just disassemble it and run it through the dishwasher, Put it back together.
Yeah, Mark, in some states in the U.S., they actually have 10-cent deposits on like the plastic pop bottles. In Michigan, we had to return them all to get the deposits.
Oh yeah, there's a whole bunch of states that do that. They used to publish it on every bottle, but now they don't seem to do that anymore.
Yeah, well, part of the problem is that it goes along with the recycling thing, that there isn't enough demand, that the recyclers don't want to pick up the plastics just because, for them to handle the bulk of material, they really can't make any profit off of it. Actually, in the recycling, about the only thing they actually make a profit off of is the metal. The aluminum from the pop and beer cans is basically what pays for their whole operation.
I remember once hearing a technical discussion about plastics and recycling and stuff, that somebody had figured out that you can take a number of different types of plastic. I don't know which ones. and you can basically treat them with microwave and other things and turn them back into oil.
No, I didn't hear about that.
You know, it's apparently it's expensive, and so that's probably why they're not doing it. But you know, geez.
Yeah, it's probably too energy intensive to be practical.
Of course, it also means then we're gonna have shit that we burn, which is our whole problem right now. Don't burn that stuff.
Did you realize that the Lego company is also the world's largest manufacturer of tires?
By weight or volume.
I'm guessing they probably mean by the number of tires produced per year. Because I don't think by weight they could really compete with the companies that are making the truck tires.
What do they call people who work in a tire plant making tires, that makes tires? What do they call the people who actually do that?
Employees.
No, they are called tire builders. Because each tire, people don't realize this, that each tire you have on your car was hand assembled. Each one of those layers was hand laid, and and it hand placed into its mold and stuff for the rubber to be injected. The steel cords around the rim,
Yep.
all those kinds of things. It was all done by hand, and these people are called builders because there's numerous layers in there. They have to be laid down correctly. You can't have air gaps. You can't have positional errors.
Yep.
It has to be done quite carefully.
Yeah, I've seen the how it's made thing on the tires.
Mm-hmm.
You can probably find it on YouTube.
Oh, that'd be interesting to watch again. But yeah, that's fascinating about tires. I've never seen how they build those really fucking big ones that are 10 feet tall and shit like that.
Yeah, I've wondered about that. Yeah, like for those huge mining trucks.
I mean, those fucking things weigh thousands of pounds. Amazing.
Yeah, just moving those things around. And can you imagine what it takes to change a tire on one of those trucks?
No, I can't.
Yeah. Well, because a person can't pick up the tire, so
Right.
they'd have to have something like a forklift just to pick up the wheel to try and put it into position.
Have you ever seen an on the road tire changer for semis?
No.
These guys, they go around. They'll have a company will have a contract with a tire fixer place, and they'll send somebody out in a truck with a replacement tire, and they will, if it's an inner or an outer tire, it doesn't matter. They'll disassemble it, get it off, and then they will, on the side of the road, change a tire for a semi rim right there with nothing more than hand tools. And if you've ever seen a tire changed in the old days, they had a center post and this bar rides around in a circle and stretches and pushes it down and all that kind of stuff. Well,
I've actually used a manual tire changer.
The tire changing system that this guy has is just that, except it's giant sized, and to move it around instead of having a pneumatic motor or something like that, he uses a sledgehammer and he beats the thing around the circle to actually get it to go on the rim. It's amazing to watch these guys do it. They're very, very good at it, and they can change a tire in an amazingly short period of time. It's going to take them 45 minutes, but for what they're doing, that's pretty goddamn fast. It's impressive. There are so many jobs that people do that we don't think about, and they're just, I just can't imagine doing them. They're so difficult, and boy,
Yeah, when I took the drive to Diana's last month, um, one of the trucks that was in the next lane, I noticed something was going weird with one of the wheels on his trailer and realized that the tire had completely deflated and was just flapping around wildly on the rim. So I need to get away from that because I figured he was ready to throw that tire at any moment and the driver didn't seem aware of it.
Yeah, get the hell away. Well, there's so much weight they can't feel just one tire going bad like that.
Yeah.
The biggest danger of that is if it's the old style wheel setup that has the safety ring on the outside. That once you got the tire mounted, it actually goes over the outer edge of the wheel and it's bolted down like at 8 points to hold everything in place. Those can loosen up after a tire disintegrates, and suddenly you've got this 50, 60 pound chunk of steel
Oh,
that's flying at your windshield.
I didn't think the steel parts would come off, but I know that they can throw the sections of the tire itself can be enough to bust a windshield.
Yeah, and ironically, that ring is called the safety ring. um, we had a woman killed in Milwaukee a bunch of years ago from one of those things. And all you saw in the windshield, all you see in the windshield is this thin line because it went through, like a frisbee, and just whacked her in the head so hard it just tore her to shreds. One of my customers was the doctor that tried to save her, and she lived for a day or two, but he said there was just too much damage. They couldn't do it.
Yeah, Mythbusters did an episode on whether or not the tread coming off of a truck tire could decapitate someone. And they said probably not in a car because the windshield would slow it down enough, but for somebody on a motorcycle, yeah.
I would agree, but I think that if conditions were just right, it could probably punch through a windshield also.
Yeah. Well, it
fair,
can definitely bust your windshield and cause you to crash at any rate.
I mean, I've seen cases where turkeys have gone through windshields and damn near decapitated somebody, and they're a lot softer than a tire. So I just think it would be perfectly possible that it happened. Cars are so dangerous, and there's so many incompetent people behind the wheel. It's just frightening.
Well, that's the thing, that regardless of how good a driver you are, you can't compensate for all the other idiots out there.
Well,
that's why you got to constantly be aware of everything going on around you.
That's true to a degree. I mean, you're never going to be able to defend against the guy who comes out of fucking nowhere, because you just don't see it. Somebody comes at you from behind or from three quarters or a pit position or something. Those are going to be the bad ones. But if you're young, if you're one of them 20 years olds out there and 30-year-olds, and you take your car to some of these high-speed driving schools on a track with certified legitimate instructors, and you learn how to drive that car at high speed and get some experience at it, you will save yourself from so many incidents that you run into on the street. You will be very happy that you took the time to learn those skills. Just 2 weeks ago, I was driving out of downtown La Crosse, and I'm on a one-way street. I'm in the left-hand lane of the one-way street. There's two lanes, and some old guy and his wife in their fairly large Chrysler or something blow through a stop sign, and there's a building right on the corner. So I didn't see them until they were actually passing by the corner of the building, and the guy is just coming right at me. And the only reason there wasn't an accident is because I had my high-speed driving skills and knew how to turn the car, how far I could turn the car, how much lean I could give to the car, and still get the
Yep.
hell out of the situation, and did it. You know, and I was present enough to even be able to turn and look at the guy and say "fuck you" while I was in the middle of it. Oh, my hands were really dizzy for about a second and a half there. It was kind of neat. I felt good about it.
Yeah, I do wish that the U.S. had functional mass transit and that they would make it a bit harder for people to get a license. I think there's just too many people out there who shouldn't have a license. And part of the problem is in polls they've taken 85% of the people believe they're better than average drivers.
Mm-hmm. And in those same polls, they think that better than 80% of the other drivers are bad.
Yep.
Talk about your conflicting polls. It's kind of the Dunning-Kruger of poll taking. Well, but I'm serious. I'm encouraging anybody in the chat who's listening, even if you don't have the inclination to do it as a sport, if you get yourself to 2 or 3, 4, maybe 4 driving schools in your lifetime, preferably all in the same summer or 2 different summers together, you will walk away with skills that you will be very, very happy you have. And you will learn very quickly how bad so many other drivers are. That's the thing that you learn most, is how bad, what bad driving is and how prevalent it is.
Yeah, well, I mean, certainly there's no downside to upping your own driving skills. Like you say, it can certainly get you out of a lot of situations.
And it also gets you into situations. There's unfortunately a lot of people who take those driving classes and then think that that means they can go drive like fucking crazy on the street or something.
Yeah, well, one of the biggest problems is the people with the SUVs who figure that since they got 4-wheel drive, they can handle anything and don't realize that 4-wheel drive doesn't help you at all when you're braking.
No, in fact, it hinders you because all 4 wheels are still being driven.
Yep. That's why in the winter you see a lot of SUVs flipped over in the ditch.
They're such a well-balanced vehicle.
Yeah.
My brother John is a very, very good driver. I'll never tell him this, but he's better than I am. And he's actually has his competition license and has been out door to door with lots of different cars and lots of different races. And he actually brought a big old, let's see, what was it? What's that huge fucking Chevy SUV that used to be out in the 80s and 90s? You know, it's got 3 rows of seats. It's just fucking.
You mean the Suburban?
Yes, the Suburban.
Well, actually,
he takes one of those out to a racetrack and can turn some rather impressive times with the big shit like that.
The Suburban is not an SUV. The Suburban was a legitimate truck.
Yeah, it sure was.
Because the Suburban is just a pickup truck with an enclosed box.
Yeah, that's fair enough to say.
Well, it literally is that from the front doors forward, all the parts are interchangeable between the Suburban and the Chevy pickup trucks.
That Chevy Suburban and its GMC equivalent were damn hard-working vehicles.
Yep, I had one at one time.
A couple of the best vehicles ever built.
Yep. Yeah, I had one. What was it? Up until about 94, I had an 87 Suburban. And I actually was looking into the idea of a kit to convert it to an electric vehicle, because the Suburban had a 40-gallon gas tank, which meant that you took that out, there was actually room under the frame for a sizable battery pack.
That would have been lead acid batteries in those days.
Yeah. But just that it had the room for a lot bigger battery pack than just about any vehicle you could try to do a conversion on.
Yeah. I've played with the idea of doing that for a while. There were a couple of BMW chassis that I thought would work really well doing that, but I never followed through. It was just more money than I cared to spend.
Yeah, well, that's the same thing for me. It was kind of like, for the amount of money it would cost to use the conversion, and then it was still a question of, well, it was already a seven-year-old truck by that point, and
Yeah.
what else was likely to go wrong?
There's these guys out in California. I'm forgetting the name of the shop, but it's a fairly small shop, maybe 10, 20, or 10, 15 people working there. And they take older cars, and specifically certain special cars like a Volkswagen Bug, one of the original Bugs, a few different Porsche models, a few different Mercedes models, and a couple BMW models, and they specifically have worked out plans and consistent ways of converting those particular cars into electrics. Right down, and they do such an excellent job, right down to, new moldings for like the trunk, where part of it taken up now with the battery, and so now they have a proper carpet and cover over it with the proper molding to make it look like it's always been that way from Mercedes or whatever. New carpet cuts and positioning in the passenger compartment, and moldings and door panels or side panels, quarter panels and stuff, and just absolutely perfect. So it looks like original factory all the way. And they're wonderful. They get fucking $80,000-$100,000 for like a 911 or a 912 that they've converted.
Yeah,
But
I know there's some nice kits out there.
well, these are their own in-house kits. They're not something that they would ever sell to a customer. It's something that they only do for their customers at their fees. $100,000, and it takes like 4 or 5 months to do your car and stuff like that. And they'll only take certain cars. They won't take a rust bucket. Get out of here. If you want to do a body restoration on the thing and then bring it in, that's fine. But it's got to be a car worth doing it to. $700K, yeah. Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, and this is the problem with the electric cars, is the cost of replacing the battery packs.
A battery pack in a Prius, I understand, is around $3,000 to $5,000, which is a bunch less than the original car cost.
It's quite a bit different from what I had heard, but I haven't looked into it for a number of years.
Somebody on chat, do a Google on Prius battery replacement cost. You'll get the answer in the first option or two.
Quick Google search, and depending on the car, I'm seeing replacement costs of from $13,000 to $32,000.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh boy. Of course, I heard the number I heard when they were first on the market, the very first years. So apparently things.
So, well, it's not as bad as buying a new car, but that's still.
And remember, if you're one of those people who drag races on the street, Never, ever, ever drag for pink slips against a Tesla. Don't do it. You'll lose. They beat everything. I don't care.
Really?
Oh, they'll just absolutely toast a 700 or 800 horsepower Mustang in a drag race. They just blow clean out of the water.
I'm surprised they have that kind of acceleration.
Yeah, they're absolute animals. it's it's just a riot to watch these guys, and they're dangling penises at each other, and this little milk toast electric car comes up and everybody laughs and chuckles, ha ha ha, and then he eats them up and spits them out. It's just a riot. uh,
Okay, I thought that was all hype about their performance. I didn't really.
no, they really are that fast. Prius, I don't know if they're in that same class of performance, but a Tesla, yes, they built them for performance, and they will 0 to 60 in like 2.3 or something like that. And it's just the way it is. I mean, I think the fastest internal combustion BMW is like 3.7 to 4.2, something like that for 0 to 60, which is pretty fast for a heavy car with an internal combustion.
Okay, yeah. According to Motor Trend, a Tesla Model S can go from 0 to 60 in less than 2.
Oh, it's down to less than 2 now. Oh, that's great. I mean, motorcycles 0 to 60 in 2 to 3 seconds.
Yeah, well, it's giving times of between 1.98 and 2.07 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm really surprised. I didn't think any electric would, have that kind of rapid pickup.
Well, if I win the lotto, I know what I'm buying. I'll buy a couple of them, one for each day of the week, different colors.
Yeah. I wouldn't, just because Elon Musk is just such a shyster. Wouldn't want to be giving him money for anything.
The Tesla is one of the best cars that has ever been built.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not arguing that it's a decent car. It's just that, because of so many other questionable things Elon Musk has done, I would not want to be giving him money.
Yeah, well, you're not giving him money because he doesn't run the company. He owns stock like thousands and millions of other people. He's just another guy now. You're buying a car, a product, something that serves you, that you can like and is relatively safe as long as you don't crash and burn. That's what scares me about electrics, is the burn potential. Lithium batteries are just so fucking dangerous. I don't even like them being in my laptop.
I don't know. As far as the car in a crash, is that really any more dangerous than a tank of gasoline?
Yes, because a tank of gasoline does not ignite very easily. And the battery, all you have to do is pierce it in one location with a thin piece of metal, and the chain reaction begins. And boom, in no time, this huge battery cell is fire. And even if the batteries are not damaged in that way, you got to crash, and then the fire department's got to extract somebody out of a vehicle. The fact that it's electric can kill the firefighters if there's just the right kind of short that's going on, and shorts in accidents happen all the time.
Well, yeah, I can see that. If it shorts out to the body, that could be a much more of a risk to somebody trying to get someone out of the vehicle.
Yeah, first responders are rightfully frightened by electric cars.
Yeah, because if it shorts to the body and the ground is wet, then anybody touching the body, it's going to discharge through them.
I don't know what the voltage that these things run at is, the basic system voltage. But
most of them are 48 volts, I think.
But their amperage is through the roof.
Yeah, well, the amperage is what's going to get you.
That's right.
A person can survive, 50,000 volts if it's a low enough amperage.
Yep. That's why you don't die when you pull a plug wire off of a
Yeah.
ignition.
But if it's a high amperage, 12 volts will kill you. A car battery will kill you because it's 12 volts. But for a fraction of a second, it can be delivering several hundred amps.
Yeah. I like telling lay people who know nothing about cars that I've taken 80,000 volts electricity out of a car ignition. Oh my God! Well, it's a tenth of an amp. Don't worry.
Yeah, I've been shocked by everything from 5 volts to 480 volts.
Yeah, I've never been high test. I've gotten bit by AC a couple times. House current.
Yeah, mostly I've gotten it from the standard house current.
Yeah,
just from when I was working on wiring and.
Yeah, I don't get AC circuitry. I don't want to get AC circuitry. I will call a professional to deal with it. It scares me. DC, 80,000 DC volts on a car. So what?
Again, it depends on the amperage. I've actually gotten it a lot worse working on 12 volt systems than I have on household current.
I used to have this house that I owned was 110 years old, and so I had this ancient electrical system with all these wires that were fabric covered, cloth covered, and you look in those boxes and stuff, and here's this cloth. You touch it, and it just falls off in powder. And
yeah,
they say as long as you don't touch it, it's fine. There's so many feet of it through these metal pipes and stuff.
Yep. I've done several jobs of rewiring houses, replacing that old fabric tube wiring with the, upgrading it to Romex.
Oh, Romex. Oh, that's pretty ancient too.
No, that's still what's pretty much the standard now.
No, not Romex.
Well, Romex is just the brand name, but it's all the same.
Oh, okay. I might be confused here.
Yeah.
I thought Romex was the metal spiral.
No, Romex is the vinyl coated.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
See, I don't know AC.
Yeah, Romex is where you've got one vinyl sheath that's got 3 wires inside it with separate insulators around them.
Yeah, that's I think a pretty decent system. Although then you got to put plates and stuff in the walls over your wires to make sure people don't go through them.
Yeah.
But that's a small price to pay, I would think.
Actually, you only need to put the plates over them if you run them too close to the surface. If you actually put the holes to run them through the center of the studs, you don't need the plates if the wire is actually more than 1.25 inches behind the wall surface.
Oh, okay. My brother and sister-in-law, when they had a fire at their house, they were making enough. It was an electrical fire. They were making enough improvements at the same time as repair that they ended up rewiring the entire house. Is that expensive?
Yeah, well, like I said, I've done that on a couple of old houses. But of just replacing all the wiring through the whole system.
Their insurance company made them do it, and picked up most of the cost of it. I guess they have this philosophy that if it burns once, it'll burn twice, and we're going to avoid that since we have to pay the money.
Yep. Yeah, it makes sense from the insurance company's point of view to just avoid the issue.
Yeah. I love these electricians who come in and they wire a house and all the wires that come down to the fuse box or circuit breaker box and stuff. Everything's got a 90-degree bend in it, and everything is separated. There's nothing that's contacting anything else. That are just so precisely laid out. I just love that. I'm real OCD when it comes to wiring, and I just love seeing that.
Actually, that's one of the things I like best about wiring is I just have to make it functional. It generally doesn't matter what it looks like because it's going to get covered up and nobody's going to see it.
I know what it looks like. I build, I built wire harnesses and stuff for cars, 10, 20, 50 conductor harnesses.
Yeah.
And I want those at their exit points to be precise and perfectly accurate. I just expect them to be the right way, perfect. Like heat shrink on everything. There's no chance of shorts, and it's just how I like to do it. And it's pretty.
Yeah. Mark's got that right, that basically what's most likely to kill you from an electrical short is if it goes through your chest, it can actually, upset your heartbeat.
Well, with somebody with the last name of Short, I'll believe that they're an expert. What I will break your heart about though is that doesn't matter, because the ground between your hand and your foot is going to be just as deadly to your heart as from hand to hand. It doesn't matter that it's not going exactly across the heart. The whole body is one system, and it just does the whole body in all at once. That's why they can get your cardio tracings off your fingertips, is because it's all one system.
Yeah. Tesla battery packs are 350 volt.
285 amps. Holy fuck.
Yeah, I didn't realize the voltage on them was that high.
Oh my god.
Although I suppose that explains how they can get that kind of acceleration.
That could melt fucking steel.
Yeah.
That's nasty.
Yeah, you could definitely use that for a spot welder.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Could I get that? That welding port installed? Oh. Yeah. Jinzu knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, I know what you mean. Right around the service panel, you do want to have all the wires laying flat and orderly, just so you can trace things back easier.
Jen, I used to restore these little BMW Isettas, which are not a major car. They've only got like 6 fuses in them, and one harness is oh gosh, how many was it? 14, 15, 17 conductors. I forget now. It's been so long. But they never had an accurate schematic for them. The cars were built way back in the 50s, and all they did for schematics was just a simple black and white line drawing that didn't identify any wire colors or true position. All they did was number each terminal, each connection, which is just an awful way to have to work on a car. And I created a schematic of an entire car with all the correct wire colors and width of the thickness of the wires and what gauge and stuff. Well, of course, it was metric, so we did it by millimeter for the entire car, and that was a fun project. That took several months to accomplish. But you'd like looking at that because it's nice. Everything's at 90 degrees and it all makes sense.
Yeah, car wiring's always been a big problem for me. I've lost more cars to wiring problems than anything else.
There's a lot of cars that are burning from electrical fires these days. The industry made a change to this wire insulation that's called cross-linked insulation. And now this isn't anything official, so like don't go spreading this out maliciously or anything, because it's just my own perspective and anecdotal beliefs. Um, and it seems that ever since they started using crosslink, that there's been a lot more car fires, spontaneous car fires, and I've noticed with the insulation from certain generations of cars, um, falls apart in a different way than we use. First of all, falling apart is a shock. I mean, you look at all these cars out there that are from 50, 60, 70 years old, that wires are still perfect. And here you got a 10, 15-year-old car, and there's degradation on the insulation, internal of the harness, not even exposed areas, but deep inside. Um, I think the industry made a big mistake going with that type of insulation. And
Yeah, I know there had been an issue about that the newer insulation apparently just doesn't take the heat as well.
mm-hmm. I've never seen anything official on it, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's.
Yeah, well, basically that, when it's subjected to the high heat, it tends to dry up and crack.
I had this car where the guy was having a strange electrical problem, and it turned out to be insulation. I'll ruin the surprise that way. But the harness that it just scared me so much. The harness that it went into, it was about 12 conductors, I think. Fine wire. They're using very lightweight wire now for weight savings. So it was all like 0.5 millimeter, 0.7 millimeter wire, that went into the harness. So it's nice and compact. But then it was sharing the sheath, the harness sheath, with a major battery connector that went from the battery starting post to the alternator. And so it was just as big of cable as it was from the battery to the starter. One of the big, massive 6 millimeter cables. Or what were that? 8, whatever, 6, 8 millimeter. And the insulation on this thing for its entire length, which was about 2 feet, was cracked and turning to dust inside of this harness. And it's like, you can't let that happen. I believe it's the salts. I wondered that myself when I was young in the profession, and I took some insulation and I chewed on it, and it tasted salty. And animals,
Well,
I know, are drawn to minerals.
actually, I think more than the salt, that, like dogs and cats will like to lick plastic bags, because to a lot of animals, the plastic tastes sweet. So I wonder if it's the same thing with the wiring insulation. I wonder if that tastes sweet to the rodents.
Very, very possible. But I actually did chew some, and it tasted salty to me. I've also tasted coolant and brake fluid and gasoline and engine oil and gear oil.
So what's your favorite?
Well, coolant is the sweet one, of course. No, I purposely did that because you can tell by just a micro dab of it on your tongue, and you can tell what fluid's leaking. Better than any damn
Yeah.
instrument to measure it or something. You just know because you're human. See, now hydrogen is much less scary in a car, Hans, to me, than gasoline, because if you have a gasoline tank rupture and fire, where does the gasoline go? It spills out onto the ground and spreads, right? If you have a hydrogen tank rupture and fire, where does the hydrogen go?
Yeah, it's going to
Way
disperse
up
much more quickly.
and way over your head. It's significantly safer. Hindenburg did not go down because of the hydrogen. It went down because of other problems that created the fire to begin with. Hydrogen just fed it once it got started.
Yeah. In Iceland, they run a lot of their vehicles off of hydrogen because with the volcano, they can use geothermal to, to do the electrolysis on the water and separate the hydrogen from the water. So, since the volcano gives them basically a free energy source, it's practical there. If we had to do it, we'd probably wind up using fossil fuels to produce the electricity, so it really wouldn't be practical. Yeah, and your Stool didn't show up, so we really didn't get into the flamingos.
Which
It's
is
just as well.
I was looking for a new recipe. I'm tired.
Oh,
I'm tired of roast flamingo.
well, you would have had a problem because we've only got the plastic ones. I don't have that many Patreon subscribers, so I only had the budget for plastic flamingos. I couldn't afford to pay somebody to actually keep the real ones alive.
No. Oh my God. There is a concert that's going to start going around. That's a hologram concert of Whitney Houston.
Hmm.
And they just showed a bit of it on TV, and it looks like it's her standing on stage, not that it looks like a hologram. Holy cow. Ooh, that's creepy.
Yeah. There was a thing I was reading, I forget who the actor was, but that by digitally recreating his voice, that he's dead, but they're digitally recreating his voice for a pseudo documentary. So they're actually making him say things that he never said. I find that really disturbing that, they're literally putting words in the mouth of a dead man. So,
Yeah.
if it's at all convincing, people are going to believe he actually said these things.
Yeah, I guess I question the ethics of that too. That's pretty weird. Oh, here's a nice little headline. LeBron James is now a billionaire.
I guess I had assumed he had been for some time already. Not that I gave it much thought. I was almost a billionaire 2 years ago.
You were?
Yep.
What happened?
When I was drunk online one night, I almost got Denmark to declare Lego as its national currency. If I could have cashed in my collection then.
I was almost a billionaire too. I bought that lottery ticket for that almost a billion lotto.
Yeah.
Almost.
Now, the Lego's what's gotten me through the COVID.
Hey,
Was,
I got something I'd like to ask the chat about. How many people we got in chat now?
I don't know, at least a half dozen. What's it? Let me look at the...
Yeah, that's a nice. I'll bet it's mostly men too. I know Jer's out there, but
it says 8 watching.
okay. I would like to know from you cis people, and I really want you to be completely honest and open. You're not going to offend me no matter what you say. Yeah, it's almost impossible to offend me. I would like to hear people express what they think about the transgender women who, the one who's Miss Nevada, is that it? Miss Nevada? The transgender woman who's now the first transgender woman as the cover girl for the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. And The trans woman who was just awarded an Emmy for her work on Pose, that show Pose. I would just like to hear what people think about that. How hearing that has affected your mind or changed your mind, if it has at all. Maybe it just doesn't matter to you. So I'm just curious for honest response.
Well, I've been hearing about those, but I actually haven't seen any pictures of the women, so I don't know those specific ones. But I've seen some women that have transitioned that I think most men would definitely go for them, and there definitely some that you would never guess.
There's a lot of trans women who would, if you tell them that you look great, I can't tell, that's taken as an offensive.
Yeah, no, it's not something that, yeah, like you say, it's not necessarily a compliment, even if you're trying to mean it that way.
It doesn't bother me, but there's a lot of people that it does bother.
Yeah, I actually, like 15 years ago, before I moved to New York, when I had dated a few times, that even before starting the transition just looked feminine. Wearing boy clothes looked wrong. Just even, in jeans and t-shirts and a baseball cap, it just looked like a girl dressed in boy clothes.
I've personally never known anyone like that. I know especially on Twitter, gotten to know many, 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 many dozens and dozens of women who are extremely attractive.
Okay, well, Ox says, I think it's great. Seems like a spark of hope. I mean, other than Miss Nevada is a hottie. To me, they're just other people, and they earned what they have. Good for them.
You know what I noticed about all three of them? They are all women of color. Isn't that interesting?
Well, maybe that has, on some level, something to do with it, because, just the way that they're viewed a bit differently. I kind of along the old cliche of people saying, like all Asians look alike type thing, that just, if it's something that's a bit different from what you're used to looking at, they don't notice the things that they would necessarily register as masculine or feminine as much.
Jer, I completely agree with that. I'm happy for her too, but beauty pageants, really do suck.
Yeah. Yeah, I would be completely on board for just getting rid of all the beauty pageants, especially for the ones that are like for teenagers and especially preteen girls.
Oh yeah, those
They're
are
just
revoltingly kinky to me. They really
yeah.
that whole John Benet Ramsey age group doing that stuff is just, how can you dare?
Well, yeah, especially when you get down to those the ones that are like 5 years old. Well, Ox, look who you're talking to here. And actually, if you look at my Twitter, my tagline now is "Watch me evolve."
I'm done evolving. Now I'm just trying to stay in repair.
As far as the actor Pose was an excellent series. I'm not sure who is getting the award, but anyone on that show deserves a reward for excellent acting. Yeah, I never saw the show at all. I don't even know.
Well, it's still on Netflix. I guess it only ran 3 seasons. Well, I suppose. I mean, how long can you draw out that topic material?
I don't know. There's some shows that I don't understand them, but they go on and on. Especially some of these reality TV shows.
Oh God.
The things they make competitions out of everything.
I hate
Oh, good night, Jen.
Well, I'm going to bed.
Yeah, Jin's is going to bed.
Oh, Jin. Oh, good night, honey.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, in politics, the scare tactics have worked. They manage to keep people afraid. So then they'll vote for whoever says that they can save them, regardless of whether or not they actually have any kind of a plan. No, yeah. It's like I say, it's a racist stereotype about people who say they all look the same. Just as much as there's variations between the different countries in Europe, there's, definite variations in the facial shape and such of people from different countries in Asia.
There's a huge difference in people from various parts of Asia.
Oh, yeah. Japanese and Koreans do not look at all alike.
Well, Chinese, Japanese, and Koreans don't look anything like, say, anybody in the islands or Indonesia or Thailand and stuff. I mean, they're absolutely these are different peoples with different backgrounds, genetic backgrounds. It's obvious, and it just makes me crazy when I've heard white people say they all look alike to me. It's like, how dare you? That's so ignorant and so stupidly untrue. Ugh. And I never got that when people said it about black people back in the 60s and 50s and stuff. Black people are clearly different from each other. How can you not see that? Oh, man.
Yeah, from the different regions of Africa, there's also quite a bit of a difference. Especially the noses. People from different parts of Africa, the nose shape varies quite a lot.
Well, yeah, just like it does white people in Europe. Just the way it is. Everybody's different.
Yep. I think we need to get rid of the idea of race altogether. It's an artificial thing anyway.
I'm always astonished with some of the stupid things that I've heard from some of my black friends that white people have said to them, who were just clearly ignorant or ill-informed about racial differences in bodies and stuff. The one that always sticks in my head the most is I had a friend, Mike Sledge. God, he was a nice guy. Him and his wife were customers of mine, and we got to know each other and partied and stuff sometimes. He was a grounds, or what do they officially call?
Groundskeeper?
Not a groundskeeper. That tarmac technician or something like
No.
that. He fueled the jets and
Hmm.
maintained wheels and different things like that, some fancy tech shit. But anyways, he and his wife were trying and finally got pregnant, and she ended up getting pregnant with twins. And he's sharing this with some people where he worked, and one of the supervisors came back and said, "Well, I heard that black people can't have twins."
Okay.
What? Where do you hear this shit? Oh, and I just laughed for hours when he told me that. It was just so insane, and he laughed too. He was just well amused that people would be that stupid.
I don't know. Actually, that's something I could almost see that, certain nationalities, there may be less of a chance of it than others, that genetically it may occur less often in some populations. I certainly wouldn't have ever thought it was a racial thing, but now it's got me kind of wondering, is there a higher rate of twins in certain countries than in others?
I could see. Well, no, I don't even want to say that because it sounds terrible. I just don't see how anybody could think that. It's
Yeah.
such a random occurrence.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, that it's really strange, a lot of the stereotypes that people believe. And a lot of people, it's kind of like they're things they believe because they never thought about. So like you say there, that as soon as somebody made them think about it, then it's laughable.
There was a big software outage today, banks and all kinds of stuff. The news is scrolling across the bottom of the screen. That's why I see this and think about it.
Depends on the water, huh?
Mercedes is going to be all electric by the end of the decade, so they say. How about that?
I'll believe it when I see it. Too often companies make proclamations like that never come true because they figure that people have forgotten about it when they realize they don't want to spend the money to do it. I mean, it'd be nice to see. I wonder what they would, what they would be intending to invest in to power their plants. I actually spent about 20 years working on designs for a self-sufficient homestead that would be off the grid. Working on designs for home-built wind power.
I saw this one house building system. When was that? I think it was in Mother Earth News or one of their annual compendiums they used to put out, and it was to build a house into the side of a hill that was south facing.
Yep.
And you could build the walls out of tires that you get various tires, like 20-inch tires.
Yeah, those were called earthship houses back in the 70s.
And you pack them full of dirt, so tightly pack them full of dirt and stack them like bricks, with the various sizes, matched up together.
Yep.
And you end up with a wall that is so strong you can drive a loaded dump truck on it.
Yeah, and the main thing was that for the energy efficiency, the thermal mass, that it would take the mound so long to heat up and cool off that it would keep the house at a pretty constant temperature.
Yeah, it was like having a cave home. And then the interior walls would still be that same construction, but they would coat everything over in an adobe type situation, and so you have these smooth walls that that look like anything else you're used to, and they may be curved walls and that kind of stuff. But
Yep.
a lot.
My plan was for something similar, actually. I was going to do an earth-sheltered geodesic dome.
How would that work?
Well, pretty much similar thing that, cut out the side of a hill and build a geodesic dome and fill it back in over it. Seal the dome with a layer of bismuth clay, because that would be pretty much self-sealing in that way, because every time the clay gets wet, it expands. So it would pretty much seal up cracks on its own.
Boy, I'm going to start wearing a mask full time again.
Oh, what now?
Just the way they're talking about the huge jumps in caseloads, jumping by 30% in a week and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I still have been. I still wear a mask every time I go in the store. Just because they're not even quite sure what the new variants, the Delta variant's the one you hear the most about, but there's a whole bunch of new variants, and they're not quite sure whether or not the vaccines are going to protect you from all of them. Although from what I've read so far, it sounds like the Pfizer is slightly more effective against the Delta variant than the other ones. And that just happens to be the one that we got.
Oh no, I got the Moderna. I'm going to die.
Yeah, well, it's a difference of the Pfizer is supposed to be like 94% effective, and the Moderna is probably like 92%. So it's not a big difference on those.
Some players object to the NFL's strong stance on mandatory vaccines.
Yeah.
Well, look, Buster, we're paying you $500,000 a year. You will do what we tell you to do.
Well, and again, it's the problem that, people aren't thinking about that you got to be kind of responsible for the people around you.
Yeah.
So if one guy on the team gets sick, if they're not all vaccinated, they're all packed together in the locker room and everything. That's a great atmosphere for spreading the virus to everybody on the team.
Yeah, that's been the most disturbing thing for me about this, is how it has revealed just a lack of compassion and ability for our population to think about other people. It's just been terribly sad, heartbreaking that our population would be so cold-hearted.
Yeah,
that's what it
yeah.
is.
That there's so little regard for, doing things for the good of your community.
Yeah.
Especially when it is literally a life and death situation. But
yeah.
Then again, the people who don't want to wear the mask are, a lot of them are still believing it's a hoax, that they don't believe it's a real thing. And it's like, are you not aware of how many people have died?
I think it's up to 4 million worldwide now. 4 million people from a bug.
Yeah, it's over. I think it's up to like 4.4 million now.
They said it's up to more deaths than all the wars through all of history, through the entire planet.
Yep. And the only thing, as far as the masks go, yeah, okay. When it's like 90 degrees outside, it's a little hard, but for the most part, you're not wearing it outside, and the stores are all air conditioned.
Mm-hmm.
So the biggest problem I have is when you walk into the air conditioned store, it tends to fog up my glasses.
I have to wear a mask during my cardio rehab, and I'm on the various exercise machines and busting my ass, going as hard as I can, and I will sweat a lot, and the respiration are up and increased, and so the mask gets wet to the point where every breath it sticks up against your face and completely blocks everything around your lips, and it's just very difficult. Well, so I carry like three different masks with me, and I trade masks.
Yep.
That's why can't people think about this? Well, if one gets annoying, change it.
Yeah, well, it's in the building here. They've got a treadmill upstairs, so I've been trying to make a regular thing of doing 15-minute workouts on the treadmill.
Well, you should
especially now because, well, they said with the hormones that redistribution of the body fat. So I think I should probably be trying to make sure I get enough exercise.
You should be working on getting your butt in good shape. You want a good butt.
Yeah, well, in that respect, I'm lucky that men have always liked my butt.
Yeah, but liking a man's butt is different than a woman's butt.
Well, no, from the back, they've usually thought I was a woman.
Oh, okay. Somebody didn't any butt.
Yeah,
it's like just this flat plain back.
Yep. Actually, my legs and butt, I'm pretty happy with. I have more of a problem that I've never done anything really to build up my upper body.
I mean, I don't want to Kim Kardashian with this semi truck behind you, but
yeah,
I wish I had a good butt.
Well, I do have to say I do like the big butts, not the Kardashians, because you can tell it's artificial.
Yeah, no, those are buttzillas.
But, yeah, and I think it's inevitable that part of your preferences are bound to be shaped by who you've had good experiences with. And most of the women that I remember fondly have been large women. Of course, even in high school, I learned pretty quick that, most of the skinny girls were stuck-up bitches. And most of the bigger girls who nobody paid much attention to generally just were nicer to be around. I mean, obviously, individual people vary, but as a general rule, that's held true for the large part. So.
Oh, no, they're saying that prairie dogs and other rodents are having some flea that's infected with something.
Oh.
So you stay away from those prairie dogs.
Yeah, well, that's not good. I'm always concerned about somebody bringing fleas into the building with all the dogs coming back and forth and the park across the street.
My dog's got fleas, and I didn't know how to deal with it properly at first. But once I learned about Frontline, it was easy.
Yeah.
Just give them that thing, and the fleas were gone within a week.
Yeah.
And all the eggs that are out there die, and all that kind of stuff. It's a very impressive drug.
Well, when I was in New York, we had indoor-outdoor cats, so we did get a flea outbreak at one point.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's I treat our cats with the Frontline, just because, like I say, I'm just concerned that if somebody's walking the dog in the park and when they're coming back through the corridor, if the fleas are jumping off the dog into the carpet on the corridor, I could wind up bringing them back into the apartment. So it's better to keep them safe.
Well, you do what you can, but if you give them Frontline not just for fleas, but for the ticks and the nasty thing they can get
right
too.
Yeah.
So you just keep them on it almost year round. Because fleas, I not fleas, ticks, I learned can be active in the winter as well. I did not know that.
No, I really did not think they could be, just because insects don't take the cold well. But yeah, like I say, the 3 of the cats I had in New York came in from the feral colony. So that was part of bringing them into the house, was always, picking a bunch of ticks off of them.
This weekend in Houston, Minnesota is you don't get to sleep this weekend. We're having our annual 3-day Houston hoedown. And I happen to live 2 houses, I'm the 3rd house away from it. And
Hey, Junie.
It gets pretty noisy here.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're going to let me park in front of my house. They usually block the street off, but damn it.
Yep.
I live here. I want to park in front of my house because I can't walk that far.
Junie, I was wondering where you were earlier. We were talking about electric cars.
Oh, yeah. Junie's got a Prius, right?
I forget which one she has. I know she's got an electric.
Junie's such a sweetie. If anybody out there in chat wants a cartoon icon or
Yep.
an basic icon, talk to Junie. Maybe you can, talk her into a contract to do yours.
Yep, Junie did mine.
Mine too when I use it. I could switch to it. I'm going to switch to it. Oh.
You having trouble switching it?
I can't do it from here. I have to go out to the lobby.
Yeah, that's what I thought. You have to drop out of the stream and come back in. And there's something weird with StreamYards now that I can't just hop into somebody's stream anymore because for some reason it won't change my default icon and keeps going back to the old one. So I actually have to log into the service every time to be able to switch it to the right avatar. There we go.
I wish StreamYards would let the icon be bigger. So that's the anime that Junie did. I think she's lovely. I wish Junie would have made me sexy, but that would have been a lie.
Yep. Well, I wish I could actually be as cute as my avatar is, but
yeah.
I think that my avatar is more along the lines of what I could have looked like if I had transitioned when I was like 25.
Well, I always wanted to be a cute little anime girl. Now I am.
Yep.
I'm trying to talk an online friend, who does a comic strip to use my character as a background character or something.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
Yeah, as far as the StreamYards, it's like I say, when I actually log into StreamYards, it gets it right. But I don't know why, if I just use the link that somebody left to get into someone else's stream, why it won't come up with what should be my default avatar, why it keeps going back to an older version. And I can't find any way to correct that because it's like I correct it when I'm logged in. But if I'm not fully logged in, then it still goes back to the old one. So where is it pulling that from?
In StreamYards?
Yeah.
When you're out in the lobby and you go to edit avatar, it will show you all the avatars that you have used currently and in the past.
Yeah, well, for some reason, unless I go through the whole thing of actually logging in and, getting the code sent to my email to log into StreamYards, it won't let me change the avatar, and it keeps going back to an old one.
Yeah, I think I ran into that too.
Yeah, Doc said he's run into it also.
Log in from your own StreamYard link that you put in Twitter.
Yeah, well, that's what I always have to do. I always have to be logged in first before I go to somebody else's link. You know, it's like I can work around it, but it's just slightly annoying that it won't do it automatically.
Yeah, StreamYard's goofy that way. It's got issues.
But if I'm going to bug them about anything, it's going to be about them putting in a raise hand feature so that the moderator can know who's waiting to talk. I'm serious. We need to have a serious letter writing campaign to StreamYards about that. That every time you log out of StreamYards, it asks you to leave a comment. And people need to keep commenting that we need a raise hand feature, because I think unless they get 10,000 comments on it, they're not going to do anything.
I've never gotten a box that asks for suggestions or whatever.
Well, do you actually, log into StreamYards, or are you just following the link someone else dropped you?
I actually have a login account.
Oh, well, when you log out, it should, well, no, maybe it's only when you're running the stream. I don't know.
Yeah, that may be. I'm really tired of seeing these daily harvest commercials on TV. It is such bullshit.
Daily harvest?
Yeah, there's a new push for ordering your meals and your food.
Oh, yeah, okay.
They have it shipped.
Yeah, now I remember the commercial.
And there's supposed to be all these healthy things and blah, blah, blah,
Yep.
blah. But have you noticed that they're like $10 a piece?
Yeah.
Who
yeah, because everything's
to drop $10 a meal.
Yep, everything's prepackaged. They want to get you to do it on the convenience.
Yeah. Convenience is not worth 4 or 5 times what I would normally spend on lunch or dinner.
Yeah, if I'm going to pay $10 for a meal, I can have an actual restaurant deliver something.
Yeah, no, that really sucks. I have to try our local pizza guy. We actually have a pizza place in town. He's only open 4 or 5 days a week, just in the evenings. But it's local. I'd like to keep my money local if I can.
Yeah, unfortunately, I haven't found any good local places here.
And I also want to go to we have a American Legion post, and they do a steak fry every third Saturday of the month. I want to try that too.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm also disappointed that I haven't found any place that did all-you-can-eat fish fries. That's, of course, Lent was still during the COVID, so we weren't going out then. That's usually when a lot of places would run them.
That's one of the biggest things I miss about Milwaukee is lack of fish fries up around this neck of the woods. Any given Friday, I could go out to 20, 30, 40 different places and have a fish fry.
Yep. Well, I was brought up in the Catholic Church while they were still phasing in the Vatican II. So, yeah, I remember, when I was really young, that it was still a sin to eat meat on Friday.
Yeah, well, I'm not even Catholic, but I still like fish fry because it's just good eating.
So what happened when they changed that?
I have
When
no.
they said it was all right, when they finally said it was all right to eat meat on Friday, what about all the people who'd already been sent to hell for it?
Well, I imagine they have some probationary period or something. You'd have to get a hold of your God lawyer and probably file an addendum to your conviction.
Yeah. Doing eternity for having a hot dog because you forgot what day it was.
Oh man, we used to have this place
Hey, doorknob.
in Milwaukee. If you're ever in Milwaukee on a Friday night, go to a place on the east side, um, northeast side of Milwaukee, called Silver Spring House, and have their fish fry. They have a walleye based fish fry where they give you these huge chunks of walleye. And then the usual, baked potato or potato pancakes and all that other fish fry junk. But their walleye is so good. Oh
Yeah.
man. And it's so fair price. I think it's like $8-9 last time I was there for a fish fry, which is pretty decent.
Yeah, Subway's making a big deal about rolling out their new menu, but yeah, some serious price hikes are a big part of it. Apparently, Subway's been having some problems with just, getting all their stores supplied.
Math Pig was talking last night about the subject got onto Subway bread.
Yep.
Bread they use. And he said, I'm assuming he was not just trying to pimp us or anything, but I assume it's true that in Ireland, Europe has these very rigid rules about food and what you can
Yep.
call. And they told Subway that you can't call that bread; you have to call it a pastry because
Yeah.
the sugar content is too high.
Yeah. That's somebody over there had told me about that sometime last year, and I looked it up, and yeah, there were actual news items on that they said it doesn't qualify as a bread because it's got too much sugar in it.
Wow. Away, Subway.
Well, I don't know if it's any worse than most other American bread. It's just Americans, we've got too much sugar in just about everything we eat.
Well, I followed it up with, if you're ever in southeast Wisconsin, look for a sub shop chain called Cousins.
Yep.
Cousins makes all their own artisanal bread.
Yeah, Cousins is in at least 3 or 4 states. I know they got stores in Illinois and Indiana too.
I used to go to the original store on Brady and Farwell in 1969, 1970.
Yep.
And really, really good. It was the first sub sandwiches in town.
Yeah, Sloth Girl grew up in Kenosha.
Oh yeah,
and yeah, they had one there, so we've gone there sometimes when she's gone back home to visit.
Yeah, their Philly cheesesteak is great. We also had this other sub shop that was called Suburbia, which was just a fun name back in the 70s. They were out of business for a bunch of years, but came back like 5, 6, 7 years ago to Milwaukee, but not with as many stores. And their bread was very different than Cousins. Cousins was a very crusty artisanal kind of bread, and Cousins, I won't call it like putty bread from the grocery store because it has a fairly tough crust, but it's not crunchy tough. It's like chewy tough. I I've had some artisanal breads that are like that, that aren't crunchy tough, but chewy tough. And the content is just or the insides are just very, very, very good, nice high gluten and stuff. I really like Suburbia subs, and just the basic sub that's bologna and salami, and I get it with extra meat.
Yeah.
hold the sauce that they put on because there's just too much damn salt in it.
Yeah. I wouldn't be at all surprised that American bread is 3 times the sugar in most European bread.
Yeah, yeah. This doesn't taste sweet. It's just a good heavy bread. But I love that name, Suburbia. Yeah. Suburbia submarine sandwich. Suburbia. They're the ones who had this commercial. Um, uh, I don't remember the whole commercial, but they coined the expression "bummed out hotline." Um, I worked for the crisis hotline in town at the time, and we all got a kick out of that bummed out hotline.
Well, and then there's Quiznos, who had the rodents screaming at you.
Oh, that for commercials?
Yeah.
Oh, I never saw that.
Oh, yeah. This was some years ago, but yeah, they had like these screaming hamsters or guinea pigs or something like that. And they literally were screaming in high pitches to the point that, yeah, I had to shut off the TV every time they came on because they would give me headaches.
Do you ever eat at Olive Garden?
Yeah.
I have to admit I like Olive Garden.
Yep. It's one of the places Soft Girl likes to go to.
And how about Red Lobster?
Yep, that's where we went for my birthday.
I like them too.
Because it turned out on Mondays that they had all-you-can-eat shrimp.
Oh.
So for my birthday, we went and I cleared 3 plates of shrimp.
Mm. Yeah, we used to go there about once every 2 months. My friend Glenn and I. But he went up and died.
Yeah.
God, you have somebody who's your friend for a long time and they die premature and stuff. It just doesn't stop hurting. I still think of him and think about I should call Glenn. I know he's dead.
Yeah. I kind of get that things with my fiance. Just especially it's like I find something that would have made a perfect gift for her and I start to get excited and then realize I can't give it to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, going to Wisconsin and not being able to have the cheese does suck. Junie, something your partner could check on, depending exactly what in the dairy they're allergic to. Like my brother can't have, milk or cheese from cows, but he finds he can tolerate the sheep or goat cheese.
I've heard of that one before.
Yeah, because for him it's not the lactose, it's the casein, I think it is. And yeah, the sheep and goat cheese is just far lower in that.
Goat cheese is really good.
Yeah, so that's also been part of the thing of when we've gone back to Kenosha, going to Tenuda's Deli because they've got a big assortment of sheep and goat cheese, so we'd always bring some of that back for him.
Remember that name, everybody. If you're ever in Kenosha, Tenuda's Deli.
Yeah, it's
must go to Tenuda's Deli.
Yes. It's a family-owned deli that's been there, I don't know, over 50 years.
Oh, yeah. They make this, I guess it would just be a pita bread sandwich. But they make these pita breads that are like 14 inches in diameter. And they do it as a breakfast sandwich, which is half a dozen eggs and bacon and oh, it's sinfully wonderful.
They make their own Italian sausage, So that's also the pilgrimages required for Sloth Girl to do her lasagna. To get it right, we've got to have the sausage from Tenuta's. Just the particular blend of seasoning they use.
Oh, so you're going to hate me for this. I always, when I do Italian, I substitute the Italian sausage for ground beef because it's bland and I don't like the spicy. I'm sorry.
That's the thing, that the Tenuta's, it's just flavorful. It's not hot. And even if we're hatched, it doesn't mean we can't celebrate the day we were hatched, does it?
Thanks, doorknob. Like you're a spring chicken.
I missed the reference to sex with lobsters, and yeah, we're not going to go back and look for that one.
Well, is it over in? I don't know. I've never done that, so I don't know. Have you? I love those blue lobsters. Aren't they pretty?
Yeah, well, what's really wild are when they find the two color ones.
Oh yeah,
That they're literally split right down the center, and one half is like blue and one half is orange.
that's a form of sexual dimorphism. That animals.
Yeah, it's a recessive gene that makes them do the split color thing.
Yeah, animals and insects. Some butterflies will do that too.
Yeah.
They will actually have both sets of sex organs, and they function in them. I would like to see them capture and keep some of the blue lobsters and breed them together and get a breeding program of blue lobsters and put a lot of them out to the environment. And somebody had found a different other color. It was, I think, yellow. And it was just
Yeah,
bright
I
yellow.
was watching a video on it just like last week. That they were talking about the different colors that they found. That the kind of orange is just kind of common, but sometimes they get some that are a bright red. And yeah, I think on the other run that they go down to a paler, down to a yellow.
I am not a lobster fan. I don't like lobster. I especially don't like how they cook lobster.
Yeah.
I just.
Well, and just the way they keep them in those crowded tanks is just not right.
Well, yeah, that sucks, but just the whole idea of dropping something into boiling water.
Yeah.
And people say, oh well, they don't feel it, or oh, it's over so quick. Okay, let's try you. Well, I tell you what, we'll do just your hand. No, I don't accept any of those rations.
Okay. Good night, Ox.
Night, Oxy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure people come up with those just to make themselves feel better. I can't imagine that there's been any scientific evidence to prove those out.
Mm-hmm. I mean, all animals feel pain. You have to feel pain to survive.
Yeah.
Like dentists used to say that children don't feel pain. I had a dentist like that said that it was excruciating, and my mom believed it, even as advanced as she was in medicine. She figured the dentist knows what they're talking about. So it was just horrible.
Yeah. Dentists are never pleasant, but yeah. That was something that I really didn't really didn't get the importance of taking care of my teeth when I was younger, and it's cost me now.
Yeah, same here. Actually, I'm kind of looking forward to getting dentures, because I've had ugly crooked teeth all my life.
Unfortunately, I can't even wear dentures. There's not enough bone left in my lower jaw to keep them in place. So the only way I could wear them is if I could get some implants for them to snap onto. And that's something the insurance won't cover and I can't afford. I got an estimate on it and I would need about $18,000 in oral surgery for them to put in the titanium posts and do some bone grafts. And there's no way I could come up with that kind of money.
I'll get in trouble if I say this. I think dentists are in collusion with each other and grossly overcharge for their services.
Well, with any of the medical stuff, it goes with the dentist too. That a lot of it also goes back to the insurance. Because the insurance companies are involved, it runs the prices up.
Yeah, but insurance and dental, I've never seen an insurance policy with dental that pays any more than like 20% of your total bill. How much influence can that have?
Well, you're on Medicaid now. The Minnesota Medicaid will cover general dentistry, and it will even cover making a set of dentures.
I am not on Medicaid. I'm on Medicare.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were qualifying for Medicaid too now.
No, I would like to, but I'm not. And I also know for a fact, I know other people who have Medicaid qualified from around here. The closest dentist that will take Medicaid is in Rochester.
Yeah, that can often be a problem.
So
that's like for me, they'll make the dentures, but like I say, if I don't get the posts for them, they won't stay in place, and I can't chew with them anyway.
I would like to know, like I'm in Minnesota, and yeah, I go to the hospital that's in Wisconsin, and Medicare has no problem with it. But I wonder if they would cover if I went to somebody, deeper, further away in Wisconsin. There's an endocrinologist I'd like to go see. I suppose if I called their office, they could tell me.
Bone grafts are cow bones.
Carve your own.
Well, then I wind up with a set of dentures like Washington.
Yeah, he had cow bone.
Yeah, it's a myth that he had wooden teeth. He actually had a set of dentures that were, some of them had been his own teeth that were extracted, and some of them were animal teeth, including he had a molar from a hippopotamus. Yeah, but it was just an assortment of teeth from different animals. I think half of them were from donkey.
Well, shark's teeth are really common to find. Maybe we should have dentures made out of shark teeth. Or you could say the shark teeth for having your custom vagina dentata built.
And Mark's saying about having it done overseas. And yeah, it has been surprising. Some countries have really got into doing the medical tourism.
Where did you actually go, Mark?
Yeah, well, he's saying he would go, so I don't think he's actually had it done. But yeah, that, primarily Americans, that it's often cheaper to fly to another country to have medical procedures done, even if, flying to another country and staying there a week is cheaper than having it done in the US a lot of times.
Well, in terms of transgender surgery, apparently the best work in the world is being done in Thailand.
Yep.
And a whole lot cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a big thing. I've read about quite a few people who have gone to Thailand and stayed there for a year to do the transition.
I've only known people that have gone over just for a couple of weeks for the procedure and come back home. And everyone I've talked to has been very satisfied. And I've seen a lot of videos, they post videos on their excursion. And the facilities look perfectly as modern as anything I've seen in America.
Mm-hmm.
I used to wonder about it, but now that I've seen stuff, I wouldn't hesitate at all if I had the money.
And Thailand has built modern hospitals modern hotels right next to the hospitals, that really are specifically aimed at people who are going to be having procedures done at the hospitals.
Yeah, the pandemic has really fucked up the system. Sammy, you're absolutely correct. The transgender surgeries have just been absolutely fucked. I've known so many people that had their surgery all scheduled for such and such date, and it just plain got canceled. And they'd been waiting for a year for the date, and it's over. And they have no idea when they're going to get another date and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, Sammy, there is a lot of it being done in Thailand. And it's mostly known for the transgender surgeries, but also just a lot of other types of surgeries as well.
Yeah. See, I always kind of thought I would never share this with viewers. I had my surgery done in the old school methods, and my surgeon kind of screwed me up. I'll spare you the ugly details, but I could live my life and pretty much function well enough if I just leave it. But if I want it truly right, it needs to be rebuilt.
Yeah.
And if I had the money, I would have it done. But it's just so expensive.
Yeah, I'm sure that's
happened.
Yeah, I haven't looked into the cost of that kind of procedure yet.
Junie, Rochester is a jumping town. It's 100,000 plus people, just the town. Then there's the suburbs, and so it's probably 150, 200,000 altogether. There's lots of jumping nightclubs. It seems. My time has mostly been in the downtown area around Mayo Clinic. So there's actually not any bars right next to Mayo Clinic or anything like that. But the downtown area, there's a lot of nice looking storefronts and stuff that appear to be nightclubs and restaurants. I'm sure you would find some very nice places there, and especially if you know somebody there that can be your guide. It would look like if I wanted to move back to a city, I'd pick Rochester.
Rochester was actually on my list there. Like I say, St. Cloud was actually my third choice, so Rochester was our second choice. This was just a matter of where we happened to find apartments we could afford. Oh. Well, I was saying I was pretty tired starting this out, so I think maybe we should wrap it up here for the night.
Yeah, we've gone 2 hours, haven't we?
Yeah, about 2 hours and 15 minutes here. So thank you, Jenny, for coming in and keeping the conversation going for me. I certainly couldn't have monologued for 2 hours.
It's my job.
And thank you to everybody in the chat for coming and spending time with us and your comments. And of course, I need to thank my Patreon supporters. My newest supporter is the Utah Outcast. And Junie, of course, did my avatar and also supports me on Patreon, as well as Von Rick, Ox, Robert X, the Lavender Lady, and Greg Hartwick. So I appreciate all your help, and basically they're making the channel at least be self-supporting. They're paying for the StreamYards. So at least I'm not having to pay extra money out of my pocket to keep this going every week.
Oh, really? You've reached that level on Patreon? That it's paying the expense, huh?
Well, as long as I've got it, like 8 people or so.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I got a good deal on the StreamYards that during the holiday season last year, they ran a special. So basically, I'm getting the StreamYards for $100 a year. So if I can, get $8 a month on the Patreon, about covers it.
Well, you Patreons, that's stellar of you. Thank you for doing that for.
So I appreciate everyone's help. And with that, we will bid you all adieu. Everybody go and get some good rest.
Adieu.
Bye-bye all.
Adieu.